Like Shannon said, I'm Martha. I am mom to four kiddos. My 11-year-old Sammy has Down syndrome, and she has a big brother, Liam, a big sister, Lila, and then a little brother, Tommy. We're busy and never a dull moment in my house. But yeah, Sammy's birth introduced me to the Down Syndrome Association of Connecticut through their first call program, which is near and dear to my heart because of just that welcoming. And then, introduced me to this whole world of advocacy and um, sharing information about how we are more alike than different and how people with Down syndrome make the world a better place, a more colorful place, and celebrating them on World Down Syndrome Day. So I am here to talk about how do we go into a classroom. As Shannon said, I am by trade, profession, a psychotherapist. I work primarily with pregnant and postpartum families struggling with mental health issues during that tender change in life. And that did not prepare me to go into a classroom and talk about Down syndrome. I had to kind of learn. And honestly, I would say that there's no right or wrong way. You're showing up as a human first, and as a parent, maybe, or a friend, or a loved one, an advocate, um, and yourself. So show up as yourself, and and that's really kind of all you need is yourself, your biggest tool. Okay. So, um, we come into a classroom and maybe talk about what's important to us and why we're here, introduce ourselves, um, and then take that in a direction you want to go in. We're talking about books today because this is part of our book donation program. You don't necessarily have to go in and read a book to a class. And I'm going to talk about that after because somebody sent us a question about middle school. So I think that's really helpful. We don't have a ton of books that are easy to go into the middle school and read, and going into an elementary school, we can get through a whole short story. Um, but when we get into books that are appropriate for upper grades, it's not quite the same. So you don't have to go into a classroom and read a book, but I will say it's quite helpful. Um, again, I like to go and introduce myself and say my connection to my loved one with Down syndrome, um, and ask some questions before I start to read. So a lot of times I'll ask the class if they know why I'm there, if they know what Down syndrome is or what they think Down syndrome is, why we have a day to celebrate people with Down syndrome, World Down Syndrome Day. Often I'll also go in the fall in October for Down Syndrome Awareness Month, why we have a whole month, and what it means to be an advocate. And then I might pick up a story and read a children's book that hopefully I've chosen to be kind of appropriate for the age group. The book that we're featuring today, I know it's backwards, I'm sorry, but it is Down Syndrome Out Loud by Melissa Hart and illustrated by Maria Pereira. Um, and it's 20 stories about real life people with Down syndrome. They're little like vignettes almost, except for I think that's for video, but little tiny stories that just a few pages long about people with Down syndrome that have done something notable. So they've all kind of made a name for themselves. And there's another book like this that we did last year that's really similar that had these little short stories about people with Down syndrome. So this year I will go in and um, I probably will take the book and tell the class to yell at me to stop. And when everybody says stop, I'll pause and we'll read about Madison Tevlin. And I'll read the story and then we'll talk a little bit. That's kind of a fun way to use a book like this. If you could also just go in and have prearranged which story, which little bio that you want to read. Um, or you can pick a short story that you've just decided I'm going to read about my friend Isabel, and you can go in and read the whole book. A book like this too, my friend Isabel, sorry, I know I'm going off script. We didn't talk about this book. But is really nice if you have a kiddo that is helping you do some reading, that has some reading skills because it's pretty simple. And so both my Sammy's sister Lila and her little brother Tommy have helped read this book to their class. And it's just about a short story about friendship, which is really sweet. And a lot of the books, like my friend Isabel, is actually about a real person. And again, so this one, Down Syndrome Out Loud, is about real people. And I'll tell you, elementary school kids love that. They love to like know that that's a real kid that lives somewhere in the world, in our country, maybe in a different country, um, maybe even in our state. Like last year, the book that we read, Anushka's Extraordinary Heroes. Anushka lives in Connecticut with her family. And so that's even kind of closer to home. The kids love that. So any kind of connection that you can help them bridge or make is helpful for them to really feel invested in what you're bringing to the table, talking about Down syndrome. So yeah, so go in and read the story. If you make a mistake, say, oops, I made a mistake. Kids are really forgiving. And they actually like it when you make mistakes. It humanizes you, and makes you relatable. And it can might make them giggle a little bit and just feel a little bit more at ease and more comfortable. Because we're talking about something that most kids don't know about. They don't know a lot about. Maybe they know someone in their school that has Down syndrome, maybe not. Maybe they know someone else who has another disability. You're probably going to get a lot of hands that say, like, my brother, my cousin, has something. And so that's cool. That's a connection. You might also have to like redirect them back to your mission. Kids love to share. So the more you can help make a connection back to what your topic is will be helpful also. Um, so often will also, in explaining about Down syndrome, what Down syndrome is, trisomy 21, I'll bring a little printout I have that I'm pretty sure that I printed out from our website. I don't know if it's still up there. It's like a Teachers Pay Teachers piece about World Down Syndrome Day from 2023, but it's got a karyotype on it. And if you don't have, I mean, you can print a karyotype off of the internet, and I just laminated it. If you don't have one, also, most teachers have a whiteboard in their classroom. You can ask them to Google a karyotype of trisomy 21 and bring it up. And then you can show the kids the triplication of the 21st chromosome. You can talk a little bit about what chromosomes are and how they tell our body how to express genes and what information it gives our body information about what color our hair, our skin, our eyes is going to be, how tall we're going to grow, um, how big our nose is going to get, how long our ears will get. And you can get a little silly. I think there's one book that talks about that our DNA tells us if we're going to like broccoli or not. So I usually throw something in about that, but tell them they can't tell their parents that they're not going to eat their broccoli because their DNA decided. Anything that you can throw in to bring a little humor and help the kids feel not intimidated by talking about disability and talking about Down syndrome in particular. It's human nature that, well, maybe more for adults than kids, that we tend to be kind of afraid or guarded around things that we don't know about. I will say kids are definitely better about being more curious. So you just kind of feed into that curiosity. There's no wrong question. I've been in classrooms where teachers are like, don't ask that. And I'm like, no, ask any question you want. You're not going to offend me. If and I'll do my best to answer your question. And if I don't know the answer, I bring a notebook, and a piece of paper, a pen and paper or pen and notebook, and I write down questions sometimes. And then I'll email teachers back and say, here's what I found. Because I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor or a geneticist. I'm really a parent, and I don't know everything, but these are great questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. Um, what else? I know Elle has she's going to teach us something in sign language, and I'll often say thank you in sign language. And I don't have a lot of sign language personally, but I'll use a little bit that we used to use when Sammy was little. So thank you and you're welcome, or like cheering, are some things that I'll bring to them. And I use that also in talking about how we can kind of make the world accessible. Part of our job, what I'm trying to promote as an advocate coming into the classroom and World Down Syndrome Day is how are each of these students, how are each of you, I'll talk to them, how can you guys be advocates? And I even, especially with Anushka's book and this book, which highlights, some of these people with Down syndrome, or all of these people with Down syndrome are famous. They've made it into a book because they've done something remarkable, right? They own businesses, they are athletes, they are musicians, they are actors, they are models, they are teachers and figure skaters, talk show hosts, congressional lobbyists. Like they've done pretty amazing things, and that's wonderful. But everybody, whether they've done amazing things or not, has a place at the table, just like everybody in this classroom. Some of you might grow up to be actors and famous athletes or doctors and teachers. And some of you might not grow up to be famous, but we all can do really important things in our everyday life, in our everyday world. And part of being an advocate and a friend is making our world accessible and equitable for each other. Those are big words for depending on what age of student you're talking to, but using sign language is a way of bridging or making language accessible, access to communicating with me by using some sign language. And you don't have to have the whole um, language, be able to speak sign language fluently, but knowing a couple words can help. Like, thank you. And Elle, will you teach us how to say what you're going to say?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Um, I definitely agree. I think everything you said about, just trying to make things inclusive and accessible is so important. And so my daughter Savvy is 6. And so last year was the first year that I went to her school. She's in pre-K and read to all of the classrooms, pre-K through second grade, which was so amazing. I went to each one. And Savvy doesn't really have a lot of language, spoken language. She loves sign and is oftentimes I'm trying to figure out what she's saying because she's learned something new. And so uh, her classroom, they know, and the kids are all learning together. But I went to all the classrooms and taught them all how to sign Happy World Down Syndrome Day. And I read a book as well and everything, and the kids just they loved the sign. And then they were like, how do you sign this? How do you sign that? And like you said, I don't know it all, right? But I'm like, let's look it up. So but it's a great activity to get them involved, and I think all the grades all loved it. So it's pretty simple. So I'm gonna make you do it, Martha. So happy first, right? You're just like it's like flat hands, and you're just making small circles towards yourself. So like happy. And then to say world, it's you make W's, so like a three, right? And then you turn it sort of like diagonal on like one on top of the other, like that. Yep. And you just circle it. So you say like world, like that. So it's like around the world. And then Down syndrome, a couple different ways to say it, but the easiest is to make a D and then an S. So a D is just like your index finger, like that. Yep. And then an S is a fist with, yep. And so you just say D and then you just like pull it down to an S. So like that. So that's Down syndrome. And then day is like that and just fold it over. So it's super simple. So I just taught them happy world. Yep. Down syndrome. and then day. Simple, and they loved it. Yeah. And then I was like, see, excited. And I told everybody thank you. And then they were asking questions, or they were like, I know how to say whatever. Like 100 of them knew how to say stick. And I was like, I don't know why you know how to say stick, but that's great. But they love to share, like you said. It was like a good sort of opener for them to ask questions then, because there was that interaction that happened, which was really awesome. So
Yeah.
thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Elle. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. Okay, I'm gonna have to practice that. Happy. I love it's almost like pulling something to my heart.
Yes. Yeah.
I have to make little
It's like filling
associations.
me up, right? It's
Yeah,
like, yeah.
filling me up. So like,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. Filling me up. So happy world, the three W's.
Yeah.
Wait, D
Yeah.
S day.
Yeah.
All
And
right. Oh, okay.
and
I'm gonna
even
keep
like
practicing.
Savvy knows how to say it now. So
Oh,
she'll say it. It's really cute. And she came to some of the classrooms and help teach
oh,
everybody, which
that's
was really sweet. And
oh,
then,
I
all
love
the
it.
kids thought that was really, really cool that she knew how to do that. So it was great for her.
That's so wonderful. I love it. I love it. So yeah, anything that we can bring to the classroom like this that helps kind of um, bridge kids understanding that people with Down syndrome are more alike than different. And then there's some like so that's a kind of a phrase that I'm not even sure where that started, but that's out there in the Down syndrome community. Um, but other ones too, like teaching the kids that people with Down syndrome also look more like their family members than other people with Down syndrome. There are some characteristics that are uh, often typical for people with Down syndrome, and sometimes I'll talk about that and how Sammy has really a very small mouth. Which is really typical. Not everyone with Down syndrome, but often people with Down syndrome will have a really small mouth and oral cavity, and then a really large tongue, which Sammy does also. And she also has a really high palate. And I'll kind of use some anatomical, um, I don't know, instructions to help them think about like take your tongue and put it at the back of your teeth and then run it over the roof of your mouth. That's your palate. And notice the shape of it. People with Down syndrome, it's almost like someone took their thumb, not everyone with Down syndrome, but some people with Down syndrome, and Sammy included. It's almost like someone took a thumb and like just depressed it up a little, pushed it up a little higher. Um, and so that can make language really tricky. If you think about how often your tongue and the roof of your mouth and the front of your teeth and the sides of the roof of your mouth have to interact to make different sounds. So I'll sometimes kind of give them that example and have them all make some sounds with me. And that can be a reason it can sometimes be difficult to understand some people with Down syndrome who have language, but it still can be difficult to understand them. And so I kind of honestly, like I don't plan a whole lot when I go into a classroom. I mean, I have a big bag and I bring a bunch of books. It's getting too heavy to bring all the books with me now. But I'll usually bring a few books. And again, depending on the age of the class, the younger classrooms where I might be reading, like my friend Isabel, I might also bring, I love this one, You're All Kinds of Wonderful, um, or another children's book. I can read a couple. And there's books that are a little bit more informative that have information about Down syndrome, about the triplication of the 21st chromosome. And there's ones that are not really about disability at all, which is like You're All Kinds of Wonderful. It doesn't particularly talk about any kind of disability. The little girl on the front has Down syndrome. She, I think, is the granddaughter or niece of Nancy Tillman. I have to look that up because I can't remember. Um, but she is also a real person. But the message in the story is about how we're each unique and that makes the world a better place. So it all the books I bring typically will have something to do with Down syndrome, a character with Down syndrome, or a message that maybe that's more specifically about Down syndrome. So you can choose, you can decide like how specific you want your message to be. Um, or how kind of broad you want it to be. And sometimes also the class kind of decides that because they'll ask some more pointed questions and that just brings you in a direction. If that's your style, that's definitely my style is to kind of like go where the class leads me as long as that's appropriate. Um, but some folks might feel a lot more comfortable having a very clear plan. Here's the book I'm going to read. Here's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to bring this handout ahead of time. I might, I've brought the coloring pages and the socks to color in for World Down Syndrome Day. Rock your socks. I brought that before. That is usually something I talk about. I usually not you. I've always worn funky mismatched socks when I come go in to read. Um, and I've also asked the school to rock their socks for World Down Syndrome Day. Um, so far that has been an easy ask, and my school has actually incorporated it into their Spirit Week. And so we talk about why socks, and again, that's where I'll bring out the karyotype. I will heads up, not all karyotypes are dyed like this. They don't all have funky colors, but all chromosomes are funky shape, different shapes, and kind of look like socks. So we'll talk about that message that socks, wearing funky, different colored mismatched socks or just fun socks, um, opens up an opportunity for someone to say, "Hey, Martha, your socks don't match today. What's going on there?" And I can say, "It's World Down Syndrome Day, and I'm wearing mismatched funky socks to celebrate how people with Down syndrome make the world a brighter, better, fun, more colorful place." And then if they say why socks, I'll say because chromosomes look like socks, and people with Down syndrome have three copies of the 21st chromosome. So I'll kind of give them almost like a little talking point that they can share with their families. And I've gotten that feedback from teachers that like students went home and I've even had like parents of kids that like kind of knew who I was. I was pretty involved in the elementary school at the PTO. So I've gotten emails like, "Hey, oh my gosh, my son came home today and was telling me all about World Down Syndrome Day and the socks." And I mean, that always feels good when you get that feedback. You don't always get that feedback, but it feels good when you get some positive feedback that kids retained something and took it home and it was impactful. Um, so I think whether you get the feedback or not, it's always going to be impactful, at least to one person, and that makes it worth it for me. Even if that one person is you. But what else? I would love, well, so let me rewind a little bit. Sorry. Blah. I would do exactly this in a classroom too, just FYI. I have done the blah. Um, because that's just real. I don't know. I mess up sometimes, a lot of times, and I babble and I say a lot. I apologize. I'm not a professional speaker, but so most of my experience is going into pre-K through five. Um, I will say as you get into the upper grades, four and five for sure, and you start talking about chromosomes and how we get um, we typically each of us have 46 chromosomes if we don't have Down syndrome or another genetic variation. Um, when we get one set from one parent and one set from the other parent of those 23 chromosomes, making 46, we can start to get lots of questions about how that happens. And it kind of goes into like the sex ed world. And I'm like looking at the teacher like, these are good questions for your parents and maybe for your teacher, but not while I'm here today, but great questions. So still trying to like validate great questions. But for me, that's kind of like not my zone. Not with these kids, maybe with my own kids, but just fair warning, lots of questions like that can come up. Um, Now, especially when you get into sixth grade. So somebody had a question that they wrote in about. I don't know if they're on the call today. I hope so, or they're going to read, "Oh, hi, Melanie. Yay. Glad you're here." So, how awesome that your daughter has has been advocating and reading in her classes since like second grade, I think you said. That's wonderful. And now she's in sixth grade, middle school.
Yes. She
Awesome.
since the year he was born, her second grade teacher um, said, "Sure, come on, bring it." And they actually they left his picture up on. They put his picture on the wall because cute little
Yeah.
month-old baby. They kept it on the wall for, hey, sweetheart, for probably I believe the rest of the year. And the next year, he was unfortunately, was it no, he wasn't in the hospital till the third year. But she did try, she did it again in her classroom, that classroom the following year. So third grade, she went back and read to the second grade because it's her favorite teacher in the whole wide world. So she went back and read to the second grade classroom again. But the third year, we were like, well, why don't we just do with the whole school? He was at the time, he had been diagnosed with leukemia. So he was in the hospital and she wasn't able to see him because of COVID. So, we were trying to find ways to keep her connected, and it was her favorite. It's like her favorite day of the year anyway. So she did it with the whole school, and she's continued though to go back to that second grade classroom, and that was her main thing was the second grade classroom, and she would go and she would read. Unfortunately, her second grade teacher moved away this year, moved away this year, so we're trying to navigate right now actually with the school what exactly we could do in her new school, but also how we could continue it at her old school as well. And they all rocked their socks. That was the one thing that they did always announce ahead of time. And everybody, I would get pictures every year of, all the kids with their socks, especially from her teacher. But she goes in and she reads, I think we have maybe 10 different books, and which none of the books that you've shared I have ever heard of. So I was like, oh, I was putting them all down. Because she reads a book each year. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to look this year as of right now. So that was kind of, my question is, how does it look because your daughter's the same age, she's 11 as well.
Yeah.
How does it look once you do get to the middle school age? Because she's sixth grade for her is middle school, and she's the youngest in the school, age wise. So
Yeah.
we have it's perfect timing. I actually did not know this meeting was happening until Melody sent me a message, because I was asking about possibly having everybody donate $1 for the Down Syndrome Act during the day. And she was like, "Did you know about the Zoom tomorrow?" So I'm glad that I luckily last minute found out about it, because this is really, really helpful. And she's actually home today as well. So if you see her peeking, she's mental health day.
Awesome.
But yes, it's been something that the school especially has been very, very accepting of and very helpful with, especially this year. I was very surprised by the reaction that I got. Very long letter, very excited teacher. So we're excited to see what it is that they end up doing. But they work together to do, because they want her to take lead of it.
Okay.
So yeah, but
That's wonderful.
she wants
What
to
a
do
great
the whole
advocate.
district. That's her, the whole district is her plan.
Yes, I love it.
We have three elementary schools and 2 middle schools, so we'll see.
Right. I love it.
Very
Big
cool.
goals. They're great. Yeah, so last year was my first time going to sixth grade. Um, and what I did was I went talked to the principal first, and I had thought I would work with the teacher. What is the class? I forget it's like Individuals and Societies is the name of the class. And I was like, oh, all right, that's like I felt like that was like perfect. But they actually connected me with the science teacher who in March does her genetics chapter, I guess. And so I came into her classroom. I was there all day. I saw every sixth grade class, and basically with her, like co-taught this class or one of their classes on genetics. That's a whole, chapter or section on genetics. But and she had already printed out um, they had like they come in and it's like you kind of maybe have quiet work while everyone's sitting down, getting their backpacks. And she had for the lab partners this sheet that had two karyotypes, and it was kind of like what's she had three questions on the board to discuss with your lab partner. What's different about the karyotypes? Um, I don't have to, I'd have to ask her what those questions are, but there were three questions about, or what, I don't even think she named it a karyotype. Like, what do you think this is? Maybe what's different between the two pictures? What do you think it means? They're very broad. And then we started talking about what a karyotype is, and you got to like get into more of science, which was cool. And then why, again, like I'm always bringing that lens back of like, why is this important to know? And I started talking about some in sixth grade, and actually I started in fifth grade talking about a little bit some deeper here, I'll pull this out, sorry. Topics. Like I brought this magazine with me. I don't know if you guys can see it, The Atlantic. Um, this is from 2020, December 2020, but it's called there's an article about the last children of Down syndrome. Prenatal testing is changing who gets born and who doesn't. This is just the beginning. And I didn't read the article. And I didn't have a moral or political agenda. It was really just about information and about science, and maybe kind of ethics, like the questions that fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth high school students are starting to ask themselves, whether we know it or not, and are talking about in their classes. They're learning about how to think critically and how to make sense of the world and what's really happening in the world. So that can be delicate, or it is delicate. It can be tricky. I think probably because of my profession, I work really hard not to bring my own biases, my own opinions, my own thoughts into the room with kids, just like I do with my clients. And I want to appreciate that that's like a practice. So, it's something kind of like at the forefront. If I'm going to talk about something like that, um, it that does take mindfulness um, to have those kind of conversations, and a conversation, with the teacher ahead of time. Is it okay for me to bring up this topic for students to talk about? And she actually, so last year, there were some classes, she was like, this is not the class that's going to be able to have a conversation with each other like this. And then other classes like, yeah, this is a great, they'll be able to talk with you about this, and be curious. And that is, I think that curiosity, if I could like offer one like main, I don't know, tip to bring with you into any classroom for any age, it's bring curiosity. The younger the kids that you're with, they're going to bring their own curiosity, which is awesome. The older they get, they bring less curiosity. So make sure you're bringing your own curiosity. That will be really helpful guide in conversations. Um, I hope, does that make sense? Okay. So I feel, Melanie, I don't think I have a great like script to go in. It worked out for me that this was they were talking about genetics, and we could go in and talk about that. So maybe your daughter could ask her science teacher, like I'm assuming that that's probably like across the state that sixth grade does a sixth grade level genetics chapter or section, unit. So maybe she could ask can we incorporate, does that happen around World Down Syndrome Day in March? And could we incorporate World Down Syndrome Day celebration there? And if not, that's okay. So maybe we find another way. Is there another class? I also know that I think Denise has gone to schools where they do a whole, and I'm pretty sure Brooke has also, where they do a whole assembly. I don't know if there's an assembly happening and then they talk about World Down Syndrome Day at the assembly, or the assembly is for a World Down Syndrome Day. But sometimes there's ways we can find of weaving our message in. Denise, do you recall that's something you've done,
So
right?
last year, Caleb and I went into one school and did a presentation to the entire school. And the mayor came in to do the proclamation for World Down Syndrome Day. So we kind of wove it into, they were doing the assembly was for like inclusivity, not just for disabilities, but like just in general, for all people. And so they had their own like presentation, and then we came in and we did ours, and then like they moved on and did other stuff. We didn't end up staying for that, but yeah. I also wanted to just mention about the resources on the DSAC website that there's a PowerPoint presentation that your daughter might be able to use, Melanie, or get an idea off of. There's the classroom activities, you said you hadn't seen some of the books that we use. So there's books and video recommendations, and there should be links right to those books and videos. Um, and Martha was talking about the coloring pages. Some of those should be listed on there. And other resources. If there's something you don't find, please feel free to reach out to us and we can help you find that, or help you with anything you need. If she is trying to go to a school district, I have in 2014 I started with one classroom. I moved on to, I think, the whole school within a year, and or and then the district I think was the second year as well. So I have worked with the entire district. So if you do need any help, just even to brainstorm or whatever, feel free to reach out.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, she has brought in coloring pages from the site before. So, and actually some of the teachers found them themselves as well and printed them out for their students. So, but yeah, I will definitely check that out as well. Thank you.
Yeah. And there's a couple webinars from last year you can look at as well.
Oh, okay, good. Good.
Know if there were a couple games, a Kahoot game, or a matching game for like elementary age. Are they still on the
It's
website?
it's on the activities list for the classroom. I think it's called activities and celebration list, maybe.
Hands. So, okay, there's games as well. Okay, that's good to know.
And we're hopefully going to be adding Elle's sign language of Happy World Down Syndrome Day to our activities as well.
Okay, that's great.
Did anybody else have any other questions or something to add, experience from when they've gone into a classroom?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, there's definitely check out the resources and the videos. I know like Leah Goes to School is read by a young girl with Down syndrome. I think that's what the book title is, Leah Goes to School. That's a great video. Um, and all the book lists, I don't know. Oh, also, I don't know. Um, again, I'm like, I guess this is my own opinion, but as a parent, I would read this book. I would recommend this book, Nonverbal. Um, Another Connecticut author. I just love that. But it's like the first couple pages, I want to say, or maybe it's the prologue. Yeah. Oh God, it's like the first couple sentences are just like, I'm like, oh my gosh, you would swear that Peggy is like having my experience. Um, so I don't know. And the book itself, it's probably for a younger audience than me. It's about high schoolers. But I really liked it as a parent. I don't know. I liked that. I liked a lot. I liked so much about it. I'm gonna stop talking, but check it out.
That book is also good for middle school and high school as well. So, um, And I also love that book. It's one of my favorites.
Oh, we have maybe a question in the chat. Oh no, you put in thank you, the World Down Syndrome Day resources. Awesome. So that link is right in the chat, guys. I hope that I covered everything that people wanted to hear about. And I know that I don't know. I feel a little bit bad that I'm not the most structured. I am someone who kind of goes into the classroom with my bag of books and is like, what should we read today? So feel free to be more structured. Or not, but again, be curious and remember that you are your most important tool. You're the one coming into the classroom, so be you and you'll do great.
I think that is awesome advice. Just that we could carry around, all of us could carry around all day, really, regardless of the what we're doing. Thank you, Martha. You have been wonderful. Are there any other questions before we kind of wrap things up? All right. Well, I want to say thank you, everybody, for coming. We will have this up on the website if you want to revisit it. It'll probably take a couple of days to get it up there. Happy World Down Syndrome Day and happy planning. We are here for you if you need information or help.
Thank you.
Nope.
Thank you, Martha. Thank you, Shannon.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
guys.
That was
Great,
very
Martha.
nice,
Thank you.
And
Martha.
thank you, Elle.
Yes, Elle, thank you so much.
Anytime, anytime. Thank you all.